Here at the Institute, okay, we study the work of Dr. George M. Lumsden. Okay, and he is unique, no matter what Aramaic stuff you see nowadays, and there's a lot of it coming out. He is unique. He is the pioneer, so to speak. He introduced the Aramaic language to the world and the Aramaic translation of the Bible. And why he's unique is because he is a native. He's a native of a town called Marbishu in the remote area of the Kurdistan Mountains. Okay, he spoke Aramaic as his growing up language, and he enjoyed the culture and traditions like that of Jesus. The reason is because that area, and it's sort of like Iraq, Turkey, that area in the Kurdistan Mountains was not discovered until 1900, right around 1900. And when I guess they were probably missionaries, got there, the townspeople asked if the Romans were still in control. So, and the other reason that it makes it so unique is that the scrolls, what we call the Bashita Scrolls, were, okay, they were maintained there in the Kurdistan Mountains, because if you know a little bit about history, when Constantine said, okay, we're splitting off, this is Western Christianity, pretty much all the Bibles, the scrolls and whatnot that had been there were destroyed. And so anyway, so that's where they found these scrolls. Dr. Lumsden knew of them. That's what he used. Okay. And of course, Dr. Erica worked with him for 10 years. And although Dr. Lumsden came to this country and got his theological degree and whatnot, and knew English, he still he was still Near Eastern, and he still did and practiced Near Eastern culture and customs, which Dr. Eric about to experience. And it's kind of like you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the culture out of the boy. So that's what makes this special. And okay, my name is Penny, and Reverend Martin is also with us here at the Institute. He is recovering from some problems, and he'll be back with us one day. And we just studied with Dr. Eric in Atlanta for 13 years. And then we've been teaching and learning. Of course, you learn no matter what you do, you learn. Okay. And this is very important. We are not here to convince you of anything. We're not here to coerce you. We're not here to convert you. And we're not here to condemn you, your religion, or your beliefs. Just need to understand that some of the things that we teach will be different than the traditional things that you may have learned or even now know from your upbringing and your religion. But we're presenting, and you take away with it whatever you take away. It's up to you. Okay, now turn the other cheek. A not very popular subject, but it's mostly because people do not understand what Jesus meant by turn the other cheek. So we're going to do the scriptures first, and then we'll, oh, okay. I don't know how many of you are on Facebook, but each week I like to put something based on the teachings of Jesus, just to start out with. And this is on Facebook, but I ran across this. I didn't really ever knew this particular scripture existed. I mean, it's been there, but it just hit me. I said, "Why do you call me my Lord, and do not do what I say?" So that's what these teachings of Jesus Bible study is all about. Okay. All right. So here's the verses that we're dealing with. Matthew 5:38. You have heard that it is said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you that you should not resist evil, but whoever strikes you on your right cheek, turn to him the other also. All right, now let's look at the background of this. All right, first of all, turn the other cheek is an idiom. It's an Aramaic idiom, and it means do not start a quarrel or fight. Basically, that's what it means. And because it's not defined as an idiom, okay, most Christians Christians are people that use the Bible, have taken this as a staunch physical kind of thing. You always turn the other cheek, and that's different. And of course, just another, it's a challenge to resist systems of domination and oppression without the use of violence or force. And that's what meekness meant last week, and that's what this means this week. Now, I'll tell you what, because we're going to pause right here with this, and because last week our my little videos were kind of muffled, I have them now because meekness and turn the other cheek go hand in hand. I mean, there's no question about it. And so I have them clearly this week, and I thought we'd just play them both because they really do, they play into turn the other cheek also. So let me make sure that I can do this right this week, okay? Okay, so last week we learned that the meaning of meekness from Aramaic meant to be flexible or bendable. All right, and we borrowed this story from Rocco. Now you just have to listen carefully because I don't have the video, but listen carefully. And again, this is meekness, but it fits. Okay, here we go.
Which reminds me of a parable which illustrates it beautifully. There were two men on an ox cart.
Can you shut that door?
And they were sitting on the back part. One man, they had their legs dangling over the side. One man was he had too much to drink. The other man was a good man, normal, fine, decent work neighbor, a good man, a hard worker, everything. And the one who was driving the cart was going rather fast, and it hit a stone and threw both men out of the cart. Well, the sun got up. But the good man broke his neck. Moral of the story, stay drunk. Not really. But the principle there is the man who was inebriated didn't know whether he was sitting in the cart or was outside the cart, or whether he was in the air or on the ground. He was so flexible he was able to get up. And that's our problem.
Okay. So that that was one of the meekness. And actually, if you're going to turn the other cheek, if you're going to learn to turn the other cheek, you really must be flexible or bendable. Now, got another one. Okay, where did it go? Well, I guess we don't have. Okay, let's go back to turn the other cheek. I don't know where it went to. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, hold on. Okay, now this one demonstrates that well, pay attention to the end, because it demonstrates that meekness works, and the actual strong person in this, you'll see, was the meek one. Okay, one more Rocco clip here, and then we're going to move on.
There were these two men from both schools on a boat in Japan. And the man from the samurai dressed up in full regalia. There he was, very fierce, planted eyes, and he even did more for the chest. Had his arms folded, had his sword, had his helmet on. There he was staring, and he was aggravated and irritated by the man next to him. Because this other one was from the school of meekness, and he was leaning over the rail on the boat, enjoying everything. Finally, he said, the man from the school of samurai said, I'm going to challenge you. Will you take it up? Listen, you mean meekness versus your sword? He said, yeah. We'll see whose philosophy is correct. He said, okay, I'll take up the challenge. Both go to the captain. The captain stops the boat. In a small boat, lowered over the side, there's an island right there, and they start rowing out the island. Just before it hits the shore, and Samurai jumps out of the boat, pulls out his sword, whirls it in the air, comes down, whoop, hot, comes, screaming, hollering, earth shook, the mountains trembled, the grass went and hid. It was so frightening. And he was turning around,
Okay, so it just shows that meekness or turning the other cheek uh, works. And who was the smarter person there? The meek guy. And nobody got hurt. Nobody did violence or whatnot. So, all right, now we're back to turn the other cheek. So now, just a couple things about because Jesus will say, "You have heard it said." Many times he says that, and he also says, "Well, it is written." So remember, there was the Torah, and there was the oral laws, but both were very much observed. I mean, they were, even though the oral law wasn't written like the Torah, there was very, they were very intent, and they observed them equally. Okay, and one more time, Jesus didn't come up with this concept uh, on his own, and as most Christians believe that these are all Jesus teachings. Well, um, Jesus studied the Torah when he was growing up, and that's where he got all these. And here are just a couple of Lamentations 3:30. Let him turn his cheek to him that smites him. Let him be filled with reproach. And Jesus had studied this when he was growing up. But see, the difference with Jesus is he did study this, but he also studied and had observed what was going on in his world, what was going on within his religion. And what he was trying to do was teach the spirit of the law, because the 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 Pharisees, the religious authorities, they just took the law literally, and then they had corrupt. They'd made the law corrupt, and so just remember, Jesus was teaching from the Old Testament, and then of course we have a very wise proverb, Proverbs 15:1. A soft word turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. And this is at the heart and core of turn the other cheek. Now, I've got a couple of stories so that we can get an idea. Let's talk about what eye for eye and tooth for tooth really meant according to the Torah. And this represents these verses give us an idea of what it really meant. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, slap for slap. And if a man strike the eye of his servant or the eye of his maid, okay, and injure it, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. And if he knocks out the tooth of his manservant or the tooth of his maidservant, he must let him go free for his tooth's sake. So it really never meant that you would take somebody's eye out and put it back. It just wouldn't, and you know, and take the next guy's eye out and whatnot. It never really meant that. It meant reparation. Okay, fair restitution. And in this case, if he injured the eye, he had to let his maidservant go or whatever. So where was
Penny, you're muted.
Does she hear you though?
Penny, can you hear us? Penny, I'm sorry we can't hear you anymore. Can you unmute?
Forgive me, everybody. Just forgive me.
It's okay, Penny. I forgive you. They're tricky. Sometimes it's hard to know if you are on mute or not.
Oh, there we go. No, I have a situation here that I have to deal with. So, okay, so turning the other cheek. The one thing we got to understand, and we'll use the example of abused women. Jesus didn't say, "Do not defend yourself." Okay, you defend yourself. If somebody is attacking you, you are in immediate danger. Uh, you don't turn your cheek. You defend yourself. And so, but this meaning has been taken literally, and it's really I've looked up, just researched it. I always go on the internet, and people just ignore it because they don't understand this interpretation of it. They don't understand that turning the other cheek means avoiding violence. And of course, in our society today, nobody wants to hear that anyway. But so we might need to make that clear. And as in the tapes that you just heard, turning the other cheek is not an attitude of weakness, but of strength. In the samurai story, the guy with meekness was stronger, essentially. Maybe not, he didn't have as many muscles, but so it's important to make people realize this. And then a straight out meaning for turning the other cheek means taking the wind out of the other guy's sails. So I got two stories here. One is from the ancient Near East. Okay, and this will kind of help to get an idea. All right, not many years ago, a saintly Assyrian Christian monk, while on a journey in Kurdistan, was met by a band of Kurdish robbers. The bandits took his money and his mule and stripped him of his outer clothing. As the bandits started to leave, the monk cried after them, "Please stop, please stop." When the leader of the bandits came back to him, the monk took a golden coin, which he had sewn in his underwear, and with tears in his eyes said, "Forgive me, sir. I did not lie to you when you said to me, 'Give me your money.' I have just found this coin in my underwear. Please take it also. It belongs to you. You may need it more than I do." Okay. When the chief of the bandits heard these words and saw the tears running down the cheeks of the pious monk, he turned to his companions and said to them, "Wait, we cannot rob this man. He is a man of God." Then he ordered them to give back to the monk his money, his clothes, and his mule. Probably this was the first time that the chief had seen a man of God who was different from other men. The monk was like a mirror in which the bandit saw his true self and knew that he was doing wrong. The Christian act was too much for even a Kurdish leader of bandits to resist. Okay, now I know we're going to say, well, he was a holy man, but what happened just by his saying, "Okay, well, here, I'll take this too," he got all his money back. He got his clothes back and whatnot. And once again, it was like the bandit guy just probably didn't know what to do with himself. Okay, so that was that. That's a great story. But I found this other one that brings it a little more up to date to our days. Okay, Julio Diaz has a daily routine. Every night, the 31-year-old social worker ends his hour-long subway commute to the Bronx one stop early, just so he can eat at his favorite diner. But one night last month, as Diaz stepped off the number 6 train and into a nearly empty platform, his evening took an unexpected turn. He was walking toward the stairs when a teenage boy approached and pulled out a knife. He wants my money, so I just gave him my wallet and told him, "Here you go," Diaz says. As the teen began to walk away, Diaz told him, "Hey, wait a minute, you forgot something. If you're going to be robbing people for the rest of the night, you might as well take my coat to keep you warm." The would-be robber looked at his would-be victim like, "What's going on here?" He asked me, "Why are you doing this?" Diaz replied, "If you're willing to risk your freedom for a few dollars, then I guess you must really need the money. I mean, all I wanted to do was get dinner. And if you really want to join me, hey, you're more than welcome." I just felt maybe he really needs help, Diaz says. Diaz says he and the teen went into the diner and sat in a booth. And, it didn't say anything else. Seemingly a true story. And so I don't know, I don't know how we would do this. And this may be kind of a lot, but let's do this. Okay, but let's look at some of the ways, just the very simple ways. And remember, turning the other cheek is preventing a quarrel or a fight. Because what happens if you start fighting, you start quarreling, you have an argument, and it intensifies, and then it could really get violent. That's, hold on just a moment. Okay, so one of the ways is, okay, give up the need to be right. That causes so many problems, so many arguments. And if you are arguing, if you're in a situation and someone is, well, we run into these people that are really bad. And we run into these people that are just nasty, whatever, and they will scream at you or do whatever. Well, just be quiet and say nothing. Or you can walk away. And just in situations, well, I have a very unique situation here. And sometimes sometimes Martin will get a little carried away and whatnot. But the best way to calm things down is to not say anything and don't react. That's the key. I mean, turning the other cheek. Well, I mean, we it is so played down because people have never learned how it feels if you do turn the other cheek, or if you just end the argument. I mean, just end it by not saying anything. And so many times, uh, the other thing is I guess those of you that are maybe still in work situations, um, you know, so many times there's people make little mistakes, and and it's a big deal when you're in an organization and whatnot, and maybe somebody made this mistake and they're really getting down. Well, sometimes you even can just admit and say, oh, I think I made that mistake. That's also turning the other cheek. And remember, all of this that we're doing, the meekness now to turn the other cheek, it's loving your enemy. That it all fits together. It's loving your enemy.